Liquid gold. Mike, go for it.
All right, we want to welcome you to the first episode, Season 1, Episode 1 of a new podcast from some dudes in Nashville called Liquid Gold. Kenneth, it's great to be with you.
It's really good to be here, Mike. It's good to see you.
My name's Mike Wolf. I'm with Chopper. Here we are, a tiki bar opening here in East Nashville very soon. And today I'm joined by my co-host partner in crime from, he works over at Husk. He's a fantastic bartender and very knowledgeable dude, Mr. Kenneth Dedmon. Kenneth, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Mike. We've been talking about this for a really long time, man.
Yeah, it's good.
Really long time.
We're finally here.
Yeah, we did
Cheers.
We did it. We didn't procrastinate for too long.
Right. We snuck it in at the end of the year.
3 years. We talked about this for 3 years.
Well, we did kind of season 1 in the porch of the batter's box. And then we did season 2 on a hood of the car at the Hermitage Cafe.
Yeah, the double patty melts.
Yeah, the double patty melt. Yep. And then season 3 we did down by the river, Shelby Park, I guess. So this is kind of season 4.
True that.
But
we didn't record any of that, though.
We didn't. That's probably good. We're excited to be here today. We're going to talk some Christmas beverage. And this is really what this podcast is going to be. We're going to talk beverages, all matter of beverages. We're going to talk booze. We're going to talk cocktails. We're going to talk coffee. We're going to talk wine. We're going to talk soda. We're going to talk... Oh, there it is. We're going to talk beer. And that's really what we're going to focus on today, along with some other Christmassy things. We've got Jared Welch from Southern Grist is here.
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Hell yeah.
Doing well.
It's good to have you. Thanks for being along.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We absolutely love Southern Grist. We love their beer, and we've been excited ever since they kind of came on the scene here a couple years ago here in Nashville. Things we're not going to talk about on Liquid Gold today. We're not going to talk about Toby Keith's new song.
Negative.
That's why I came.
We're not going to talk about the Denver Nuggets title window, which as if you feel a cool breeze, it's because the window has opened, but we won't talk about that. We're not going to talk about mixing champagne with beer. Maybe we will on a future episode. We're not going to talk about mojitos being ordered with the hard J.
Or like prosciutto.
Yeah.
I hate that one.
And we're not going to talk about traditional Jamaican roots beer. But we'll probably save that one for a future episode. So we are looking forward to getting into that eventually. One thing I want to start with, Kenneth, I wanted to throw a shout out to El Fuego over on the east side, Inglewood.
El Fuego.
I've been going there. I've been taking the family there. It's a good place to take. I've got 2 little kids, so it's a good place to take the kids. They're not sponsoring us or anything, but I wanted to give them a shout out because we've been talking about tequila lately. I've done some projects over the winter with the TC Craft Tequila, which is based here in Nashville. So shout out to them. I've done some winter and fall drinks with them, and I think one thing that really came up for me about tequila is tequila unfair? Is it like the unfair spirit to make cocktails with? Number one, because you want to mix salt with it. Salt makes everything taste better.
True.
It also, you have this tradition of like using rims. So you can do like a chili salt rim. You can do a little rose petal flower salt rim. You can do all these different things, which you don't really have that with bourbon. External texture. So what do you think? Is tequila unfair? It's so good it's unfair.
I agree. I think tequila is very unfair. It's been ahead of the game for a long time, and it continues to. It's versatile. It's vegetal. It can be sweet. It can be spicy. It can be smoky.
How you typically drinking tequila?
Just neat. Lately, I'm getting into, Blancos.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a lot of Blancos as opposed to stuff that's aged too much, and it's not a price point matter. It's because I'm kind of slowly getting away from the bourbons and whiskeys on the daily or the bi-daily or tri-daily.
Hourly. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's another product that's made by our friends here in North America, and something we should all be proud of and we should celebrate.
They are our friends down there.
Yeah, they're our friends.
Yeah.
They're our friends. They're our close friends. They're our neighbors.
They are neighbors. That's cool. And I kind of agree with you. I do like that kind of freshness of a Blanco.
Yeah, you can.
It tastes like the ocean.
You can drink it warm on a hot day, and it's great. It's good. It's probably better for your like core body temperature anyway to drink something room temperature, semi-hot on a hot day. Science.
Science with Kenneth. That'll be a new feature. So there are some features we're going to get into on this show. We're going to do booze news, and we'll get to that a little bit later with my man Kenneth over here. Also want to throw a shout out to Andy Muma, who's going to join us on occasion from Barista Parlor. He'll be over here talking coffee, and he'll be talking. Andy's a big beverage enthusiast as well. So we'll talk cocktails, we'll talk coffee, we'll talk all matter of liquid gold with Andy as well. Before we get into it with Jared here, I do want to go over, since we're coming into Christmas, it's easy to make your own eggnog. To make it handmade and to kind of go through a few steps, it's really not that hard. So I'm going to go through this little New Orleans style eggnog recipe that I've been using the last few years here. I've been making this eggnog for about the last 10 years. You can match cognac, rye, bourbon, rum. There's a bunch of different things you can do with this stuff. You can use tequila. I think that's fine, but I wouldn't necessarily be mixing tequila with bourbon or rye necessarily. But so what you need is 12 eggs is what we'll start with here. So you've got your 12 eggs, and this is where you can kind of splurge a little bit, and you can get some nice farm fresh eggs. You want good eggs for this. You don't want just like gas station eggs if you can avoid it.
So farm fresh.
Farm fresh. What you want to do, you take your 12 eggs, then we're going to separate those eggs. You're going to have your KitchenAid mixer. That would be very helpful to have on hand. You kind of need it for this. So you're going to separate your 12 eggs. You're going to take the yolks. You're going to beat those yolks in a KitchenAid mixer for about a minute or so until they start to lighten. Then you're going to gradually add some sugar and keep beating the egg yolks until like it dissolves.
Blender, Mikey?
I'm saying KitchenAid mixer. Stick blender, no.
Okay.
So you got your yolks going in the KitchenAid mixer. You're going to gradually add your cup of sugar. So 1 cup of sugar. And it's nice to use the organic sugar if you can, or the Florida crystals. It'll give it a little bit more texture. It'll make the eggnog taste just a little bit smoother. So you add your cup of sugar. You let that dissolve with the yolks. Then you're going to add your milk. So we're going to add 3 pints of whole milk. Then we are going to add 3 cups of heavy cream. All right, so you got your 3 cups heavy cream. For the booze, what I've got for this recipe, 6 ounces of cognac, 6 ounces of bourbon, rye, or spiced rum. Okay, so use whatever you got. I like doing cognac and rum, but I got to say I also really like doing bourbon and rum, rye and rum, cognac and rye, any of that combination. But we're going up to 12 ounces on the booze. All right, so you've got your yolks beat. You add the sugar. You keep beating that until it dissolves. Then you add your milk, cream, booze, and we're going to add some shaved nutmeg in there, a couple teaspoons of shaved nutmeg, and we're going to save that nutmeg to be shaving that over the glass as well once we're ready to drink this. So now you've got your whites separate in a separate bowl, and we're going to beat those in a separate bowl until soft white peaks form. With the mixer running, we're going to slowly add 3 tablespoons of organic sugar or regular sugar until the peaks stiffen just a little bit. After that, we've got our stiff peaks. We've got our little meringue going. Then we're going to whisk the beaten egg whites into the mixture. All right? And then we're done. So hopefully that made sense. Now we can go back. You can go back and kind of go through some of the ingredients, but I can go through from the top. You got 12 eggs. You got 1 cup plus 3 tablespoons of organic sugar. You got 3 pints of whole milk. You got 3 cups of heavy cream. You got 6 ounces of cognac and 6 ounces of bourbon, rye, or spiced rum. And within that 12 ounces...
That's like 1 ounce liquor per egg.
Sure. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think I want to make the point that that you really can mix and match different booze. See what you got in the counter. See what you got in your bar. If you have that Myers rum sitting around, you can add a little bit of that. And I think one of the keys to this is having the freshly grated nutmeg to shave over the top after you kind of ladle that into your little eggnog glass. So that's my eggnog. You can add a little Peychaud bitters. You can add a little Angostura on top. Allspice dram. Little allspice liqueur goes a long way. You can mix that into your 12 ounces ratio of booze.
Would you ever put like a little bit of chocolate in there or something? Like
Sure.
Shaven chocolate over the top.
Oh, nice. I like that. I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
Are you going to come over on Christmas Eve and make it with me?
I got to work Christmas Eve, but I mean, if you're up late,
All
I
right.
don't care. I'll probably have to stay up all night anyway.
Yeah, I'll be waiting for Santa.
Yeah.
Well, that's our eggnog. I wanted to, hopefully I made it sound as easy as I wanted to, because I feel like it is pretty easy to put it all together. It's really just about separating the eggs, and having a KitchenAid mixer really helps.
Eggnog's dope.
It is, and you really only drink it kind of once a year. Jared, how do you feel about eggnog, man?
Oh,
Where
man.
you at?
I'm so happy you guys brought up eggnog. I love eggnog. So it's hilarious you're talking about this. I have this absurd group of friends here in Nashville.
I know some of them.
Yes, you do. You know almost all of them.
Good peeps.
Every year we do Nogapalooza.
Whoa.
And it's usually early December, just kind of it's a free weekend whenever we can figure it out. And it's like our main event of the entire year is literally this get together.
Oh my God.
And Kyle Arnold, who's another brewer at Southern Grist, one of my best friends, he hosts it every year, and he gets together with another buddy and they brew a massive batch of nog. And then what they do is they break it into quart and pint jars, and we just do stupid things to it. Like, I'm trying to think of some of the best variants from this year, but we did, like, it was a banana cream pie eggnog. There was like a espresso eggnog. We did one we do a lot that are also modeled after some like weird beers and stuff that we like. So we did a chocolate, cinnamon, chili pepper, vanilla bean nog.
Why not?
All of them always have like the proper garnish. You mentioned the fresh shaved nutmeg. That's always for the regular. And then we did like crumbled Nutter Butters for a peanut butter one. It's just so fun. Nog
do
is
all those
and this,
blizzard flavors.
Like, yeah, right. It's one of those things. I mean, yeah, if you're like a nog enthusiast, maybe this is cringeworthy that we're absolutely just ripping apart this sacred beverage and doing stupid things with it. But we have a lot of fun, and we always make ourselves miserable because it's nothing but cream and like we drink an absurd amount of just dairy.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Best day of the year.
Awesome, man. Well, Kyle, I'm gonna solicit my invite for next year. Definitely get me involved in this Nogapalooza.
Yeah, you guys are in for sure.
Yeah, we got to go, Kenneth.
It's just good to be like making eggnog instead of picking it up at fucking Kroger like
yeah. Oh yeah,
the Monday before Christmas, like
yeah. And I don't know what you think about the texture of when you make it by hand, but for me it's so much lighter.
Yeah,
you can make it so much lighter.
Absolutely.
It's so much more drinkable.
It's
when
lighter, but one of my big issues with a lot of store-bought nog is it's watery. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference between being like, beverage being light and watery. And I hate how, a lot of stuff you pick up off the shelf is just
water, sugar, cream.
Yeah,
vanilla,
exactly.
Extract.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you came here for the eggnog talk.
Me too.
Because you have so much to add to it. Yeah. And maybe, it only makes sense.
Next year we can do this from Nogapalooza.
That sounds like a plan, Kenneth.
It'd be cool though in those store-bought eggnogs, have like a missing like elf ad on the back.
That would be good.
Like a missing elf or
that's good.
What else? Yeah, a reindeer.
A missing reindeer. Yeah. What would the elf's name be?
I don't know. Isn't Timothy's a pretty popular elf name?
Timothy?
Yeah. Timothy or Alec.
Alec?
Alec, yeah.
So it's really only fitting that Jared and the boys from Southern Grist would take something. It's almost like their approach to beer. Yeah. You take something relatively simple and time honored, and you get super creative with it. I mean, I'm not surprised about this at all. So that's kind of amazing.
If you're familiar with
cool.
Southern Grist, it's the least surprising thing you've heard.
So we're here. We have cracked open beverages here on Liquid Gold, episode 1, and we're here drinking some Southern Grist beer. I have my perennial favorite, which I'm going to talk a little bit about how it was my first like real wow factor being at Southern Grist early on in the early days. The mixed greens is what I'm drinking here. The double dry hop mixed greens. Kenneth, what do you got over there?
I got the blueberry cobbler. It tastes exactly like a blueberry cobbler.
That's great for the holidays.
Yeah. It's got like perfect acidity. It's amazing.
Awesome.
Blowing my mind.
Yeah,
Blowing my mind.
You're actually a public person, human number 1 to consume that.
No
it's
way.
dropping tomorrow. Yeah, we just canned it up yesterday, or I guess the day before. But
Oh my gosh.
it's dropping tomorrow. So I mean, obviously, I guess the podcast will be out by the time this.
Yeah, we
it's
should air
available,
on
but-
Christmas Eve. But he's used to being suspect
that's
number
killer.
1,
Here,
so that's good.
Taste it, Mikey.
All right, let me give this a taste. Jared, what are you drinking over there?
Yeah, I'm drinking on our Loud Whispers. I'm sure we'll kind of get into
That's good.
beers and everything that we produce in a bit. Loud Whispers, though, is our double dry hop pale ale, and that and mixed greens are probably the 2 closest things we have to what would be considered a flagship. And so it's a pale ale at heart, but we kind of amp it up with the double dry hop, and it's probably, even though it's double dry hopped, the most relatively easy drinking beer, I guess, that we produce, and it's what I would consider my everyday crusher. So
Awesome.
had to pop that one.
Yeah, I agree that one is great for any time of the day, any season. It's just, and you guys have a lot of super creative beers and a lot of complex beers. You guys kind of run the gamut. But how long has Southern Grist been around now?
So we opened our doors in February 2016. So coming up on our 3rd year anniversary here in just a couple months. So that's when we've kind of been open to the public. We, Kevin, Jamie, and myself, the 3 owners, we initially came up with the idea to start a brewery, pre-name, I guess, it was July-ish, I want to say, 2014. That was kind of when we first started talking and getting things together and kind of saying, hey, let's do this. So
That's awesome. So what kind of inspired you, since you are, as far as Southern Grist is concerned, you're sort of the mastermind of the flavor. You're the mastermind of brewing. Am I right?
Yeah. So of the 3 of us, I am the liquid side of the business
Right.
guy. So I basically handle anything to do with the actual product itself. Is for the most part me, and then also I have a team now. Finally, after 2 years, got some people behind me.
Yeah.
With me, I should say. So it's awesome. It's a fun job to have.
That's great, man. What inspired you to make your first beer? Like, what got you into it?
Yeah, dude, it's really weird. Going back to college when I was definitely 21, wink wink, I never really enjoyed, the cheap crappy beer that was being served on, house parties and things like that. So it all started with just getting one of my buddies to go pick me up a beer that was different, right? And I'd heard my brother actually talk about this brewery Magic Hat. And he was talking about this like apricot beer. I'm like, apricot? Like, what? That's wild. What is that? And so I tried Magic Hat number 9, and it was the first time that I was like, whoa, I actually like this flavor. That kind of made me interested in craft beer. And then for the next few years at college, I became that guy who every night at a party, I was the weirdo showing up with a 6-pack of craft beer that cost as much or more as everybody else's, 30 racks and such. And I just was always super interested in trying something different and just kind of expanding my palate and horizon and having fun with beer. And so going down that rabbit hole of just enjoying the craft, I started reading more, researching, just kind of spending free time outside of studies, for college, actually into looking into craft beer. Started reading about home brewing. It's like, it sounds kind of fun. I want to make my own beer at home. When you start out also, by the way, you're like, oh, home brewing, I'm going to save so much money making beer. Yeah, and then you go spend like $400 on equipment and everything. It's like, okay, I didn't save as much money as I thought. But no, it's so much fun. So yeah, I knew I wanted to get into home brewing. I read God, 3-4 books about it before I ever actually took the plunge and did it. So I just always researched, a lot ahead of time. And then it was my college roommate, my then girlfriend, now wife, who ended up as a college graduation present, got me a homebrew kit. Started making beer.
That's awesome. I imagine that you get into it and you're like, I'm going to save some money because I'm going to be drinking all this beer. It's going to be great. But then you probably realize I need to just keep making more beer. And now I need more equipment.
Yeah, exactly. And you definitely tell yourself, I'm going to be able to drink all this beer. But, especially for me, I wanted to brew it so often that I just started amassing so much beer. I'm like, I can't possibly drink this. So I started giving it away and, having parties and having people come over and hang out and sharing it.
When was it that you feel like you got to this point where people are like, dude, you're doing something special here? Or what kind of triggered it? Was it a specific beer that you did? Was it some feedback you got?
Man, that's a really good question. I definitely objectively felt like I was always at home for the most part. Obviously, you're going to have misses and, you have to dump batches and things go wrong, and that's all part of it. I do feel like, for the most part, I was drinking my beer and objectively saying to myself, like, man, this is good. But I never thought to myself, like, man, this is better than anything I can buy at a store. Anything of that sort. I guess it wasn't until Kevin and Jamie, who are the co-owners of Southern Grist with me, I knew them through work. And we were sitting together one time drinking. They homebrewed as well. We were drinking homebrew. And it was kind of them who turned to me and said, dude, your beer's awesome.
Like, your beer is better than ours.
Yeah, literally. If you ask them,
tell us your secrets.
If you ask them the story of like, them getting together with me, they say like, we wanted to start a brewery, but we knew our beer wouldn't cut it, and yours would. So it's funny. They always say the same thing. But yeah, I guess it was kind of them who, for me, opening any home brewer, their pipe dream is to open a brewery. That's like, oh, that would be so awesome type of thing. And I had that pipe dream, but I guess I didn't know if it was actually real or feasible. It was always just reach for the stars type of thinking. So yeah, I guess it wasn't until Kevin and Jamie kind of said, dude, this is legit.
And how long had you been brewing at that point?
At that point, 7 years maybe.
Okay, so that's a lot of batches.
6-7 years. Yeah, when I first moved to Nashville,
hundreds.
A lot of demos.
Yeah, I guess when I first moved to Nashville, I took a little bit of a break. I was probably only brewing once every 2 months or so, just because I was in a tiny apartment in the middle of, I didn't have space to do it. I had always done like the big turkey fryer, like big batches of beer, and then when I moved to a small apartment, I had to switch over to the stovetop type brewing, which is a little bit of a pain. So took a little bit of like a 2-year, year and a half break, or probably only did like 10 batches or so. But before and after that, I was brewing almost every weekend. Like it was a hard hobby.
That's awesome.
Ask my wife. She'll confirm.
Pots everywhere, liquids everywhere.
Yes.
It's like, what is this?
Bottles,
what is this? What's going on here, babe?
Our second bedroom at one point was basically just a place for all of just beer, just homebrew equipment, product, you name it. Yeah, it was.
So what is that like? So you get to that point and you guys are like, we're going to do this. We found the location. Now, the beautiful thing for me was that I was in the neighborhood. That was my neighborhood that Southern Grist opened up at. And knowing Andy Wedge a little bit, we'll throw him a shout out. We're going to be talking to him. Wedge on wine. That'll be a feature that we're hoping to get off the ground here. Wedge is out in New York working for the Momofuku Group. And he was kind of the first person that was like, you are going to need to try this beer. You're going to love this beer. I'm really excited for us to go over here. And it was in my neighborhood. And so it was just a beautiful thing. But what was that like for you? You're going from the home brew to the official kind of like professional brewery side. What kinds of challenges did you face initially kind of making those first few batches? Was it like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Or was it like, this is my dream right here?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
There were a lot of challenges, and for people who aren't familiar with Southern Grist or our story, our initial location when we started in East Nashville was tiny. Kevin, Jamie, and I really put that together on a shoestring budget, right? We had day jobs. This was kind of like a proof of concept. Like, we want to do this, but we're not going to go out and try and get $2 million and blah blah blah. So I basically Frankensteined a brewery together, and to call it what it is. It was essentially a very, very large homebrew system, which is what I was, comfortable, familiar with. I was a homegrown brewer, and so I was like, why try and do something that I'm not going to know
was a lot
what
of
the hell to do.
Was a lot of the equipment that y'all use like from your houses to begin with?
No. So it was much bigger. Okay. So your average homebrew batch is 5 gallons. That's what most homebrewers are doing. We got what was called a 4-barrel system. So a barrel is 31 U.S. gallons in the beer world. So, we were making, we'll call it 120 gallons or so. So that's, it's very, very small in the brewing world. But no, I mean, we were not actually using homebrew equipment. It was professional equipment. We started on a brew stand type thing that's made up in Michigan that a lot of breweries that start small kind of start out on. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, just kind of putting everything together, and those initial brew days were terrible. not terrible as in something went wrong with the beer. It was just a lot of work, a lot of learning, a lot of frustration. It's new, and I didn't know what I didn't know, type of thing.
Had any of you been like kegging batches before?
Yeah, so we did. I had switched over to kegging like homebrew probably a few years before we started Southern Grist. I still always bottled like my wild beer, my sours that are mixed culture, the type of stuff that kind of ages for years and that sort of thing. But anything that was quote unquote clean, I had been kegging, had a kegerator at home, so yeah, we were doing that for a while.
So imagine that you run into a lot of challenges initially. Just increasing your batch. You're like, okay, I've been making these 5-gallon batches.
Yeah.
I maybe have tried bigger batches. And I've always been curious about that. So I grew up in Denver and spent a lot of time in Fort Collins and a lot of time in Boulder. And there's a lot of great beer being made around there.
For sure.
And I think one thing that we would notice out there is when a brewery goes from small to super successful, and there's like this quality control period where a lot of times people are like, man, the beer got sucky or or it changed. And then a lot of times people kind of rein that back in. So what was that like for you? Not just in the beginning, but also going into now. I'm sure you're making huge batches now. You've got the new location out at the Nations.
Yep.
What has that whole thing been like? That is fascinating to me.
Yeah, so that's been awesome.
Yeah.
The new location, so we've obviously scaled up from the 4-barrel system that I was just talking about, the little tiny brew stand on the east side. We now have a 15-barrel system, so roughly 465 gallons. And a lot of the beers we're doing double batches of. We're going to 30-barrel fermenter, so we're talking 900 gallons. That's no small amount of beer. To go from 100, 120 up to almost 1,000, yeah, it's a big jump. It was. For us in this way, I feel like, a lot of breweries that kind of scale up, they do have sometimes a drop in quality is kind of what you see a lot of people talk about. For us, I feel like this new location couldn't have been a better move just because now that we had been an operating business, right? We got this brand new, shiny system, never been used, manufactured just for me to my specs. I worked with the manufacturer who down in Florida actually, which most systems are made in China. Ours is actually fabricated in the United States. And so having that hands-on experience and going through the system was absolutely amazing. And I feel like kind of the jump in quality from all the equipment I had from the old space to the new space, we saw almost I'd say after the first 2 batches, because again, going back to the same issue I had last time, it's just learning something new. Obviously, I know how to make beer, but on a different system, there's just so many new variables that come into play and things like that. So I would say once I figured out the actual system, which is probably after batch 2, the jump in quality as far as the beer goes was immediate, and it was pretty substantial. I think we were making good beer on the east side, but I mean we're really happy with the place we're in right now on the west side with the new system, new location.
That's killer. So we have the east side location, which is Greenwood and Porter.
Yep.
And then the Nations, where exactly is that one?
So it is it's on Centennial Boulevard. If you're familiar with West Nashville and the Nations, there's that famous big tower with the giant mural on it of
beautiful
of the man.
My wife's a big fan.
Yeah, we are basically in that tower shadow. Could almost hit it with a football.
Cool. Right over there by Nikki's.
Yep. Same
Right over
same
by,
plaza as Nikki's. We love those guys.
Yeah, they do a great job. So shout out to them. We had the first chopper pop up there this year.
Yeah,
That was fun.
that was amazing.
Fun times. So my first experience with your beer, and something that just totally blew me away, and it's been an ongoing series, so I want to talk a little bit about that before we talk about some of the other styles. You guys have made so many beers. But what was the impetus? What was the sort of idea behind mixed greens, and the fact that it changed? It was like this hoppy beer that would change. I would come in, I think the first one I had was mixed greens #1. And Andy, Wedge, and I were blown away. And then when you got to mixed greens 4, and we were like, this is something right here. This is like one of the best beers we've ever tasted. We were just, we loved it. But then there's mixed greens 6. On to mixed greens. What are you on now? 34?
You are drinking 32.
Wow.
And we
Just
brewed 33 this week. And that's with some rebrews too. I mean, we've gone back, and it's always kind of fun to say, you know what? Mixed greens 3, that one was badass. And then we'll go back and, we've rebrewed and things like that. So, but yeah, as far as different iterations of the series, 32 is in cans and available right
That's
now.
amazing.
And 33 is coming down the pipe.
And what's the idea behind mixed greens?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, obviously, to be a brewer, or just to have a brewery in today's day and age, you almost have to have an IPA.
Right.
It is the #1 selling style, hands down. The numbers, prove that it's like, I don't even know if 2 and 3 combined would equal IPA, whatever those styles are. So anyway, I love IPA, so knew we were going to brew an IPA. For me, and I'm sure we'll get into this maybe a little more later, but at its core, like with brewing, it has always just been this expression of creativity and trying something new and different. And I knew if I do an IPA, I want to experiment with different hops and different additions and just doing things kind of different with an IPA. And so the idea of doing a series is, the first thing that came to mind. I was like, well, let's just kind of do the same base IPA, sans hops, and then that gives me a way I can just kind of play with different hops, either try a new hop or play with different hop combinations. There's all kinds of things you can do. So for me, it always started as a way to just continue to experiment and have fun and try something new. And there have been times where we've done a hop combination that came from, hey, let's try this in a mixed greens. And we've been like, that combination was so awesome. We've actually implemented that into other beers and brands like double IPAs or things like that. So
makes sense.
It has been kind of an incubator for us as far as other beers that we're brewing, because it's just a fun way to, try things out.
You probably stumbled onto pretty cool combinations, and you were like, those 2 hops worked really well. Do you have a favorite hop? What's your favorite hop?
Oh, yeah. How many hops are we playing with here anyway? Like,
me?
What do you got stashed over there?
So,
His pockets are bulging.
I left a trail of hops up the stairs to get here. Man, as far as what I have in stock, there's probably 5 or 6 different hops that I pretty much keep year round that are my staples. Sure. And then if you were to go take inventory right now, you'd probably find like 15, 16 different hops. I bet we've used 25 to 30 this year. That's just completely different hops. My favorite hop, that's a tough question. Big fan of Galaxy. I feel like Galaxy was probably my favorite hop for a really long time. Until this year, and I don't want to call it my favorite because I just don't have as much hands-on experience with it, but the first hop that has blown me away, probably in the past 5 or 6 years, I just discovered at CBC Craft Brewers Conference this year. It's a French hop, of all things, which for people who are familiar with hop regions, France is not known to be a good hop growing region for big IPA style hops. But anyway, it's this hop called Barbe Rouge. So if it continues going the direction it's going, it's gonna make a fight for my favorite hop with Galaxy here coming up. I don't know. I'm a really big fan of it.
Are they using it in lighter beers out there? Are they getting into? I know like the American style of like craft brewing seems to be making inroads in Europe.
Yeah,
from what everyone says. So that's kind of amazing. Right. Is that what they're getting into? They're getting into like, mixed greens. It's
there's definitely breweries over there that are doing that. Definitely a few. As far as how Barbe Rouge is being used, honestly, I just heard about it 5-6 months ago. It was in like a single hop. It was like a light lager, like a hoppy lager, I should say, to really let the hop kind of express itself, because they were showcasing that hop in the beer at CBC. Outside of that beer, though, I mean, I've only used it, I guess, tried it in the beers that we've used it in. So, I don't know. It's such a new hop that it's just popped up this year and on at least my radar. And every time I talk to other brewers about it, they're like, "What? Barb? What?" You know, they not.
You're like, "Oh, never mind." Actually, what did I say? It's a cool French film.
I think I dreamed it.
No, it's really funny too. And it's gonna sound like an exaggeration. Every time I tell this story, people don't believe me. It's really funny, but this is the truth. It was really hard for me to get this hop, and so I ended up randomly running into this guy who's this Russian guy.
Oh, damn! I love this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this is like a back alley deal type of guy.
Okay.
And this guy, you know, I first run into him, and he is in this full. I'm not joking. A full like sweat jumpsuit.
Oh, tracksuit. Oh yeah.
But it was.
Let it be a tracksuit.
But it was like sweatpants material, not like the shiny like normal tracksuit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this guy just like decked out head to toe.
Polyester.
And he's telling me, "Oh, I can get you this rare hop. I can get you that rare hop. I can do all this. I can do that." And I kind of put him on the spot, and I was like, "Dude, I'll write you a check right now for blah blah blah." He backtracked for a minute didn't literally just kind of like disappeared into the shadows that night. Dude sends me an email.
Nashville?
Like, yeah, this was during CBC. Yeah, he was in town for
deals.
CBC. And
That's great.
making all these promises, and I called him on it. You know, nothing. So anyway, dude disappears in the shadows. 4 months later, I get this random email. It's like, "Hey, Jared, I don't know if you remember me from CBC. We had talked about hops. Here's what I can do." And I just happened to say I'd been looking for Bar Rouge since CBC for 4 months, and very, very tough to get a hold of. Out of nowhere, this guy is just like, "Yes, I can get you Bar Rouge." And as Russian as hell, he had us wire money to like this bank in Australia to get Bar. It was just it was the weirdest deal. So, yeah, that's the Bar Rouge story.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I've talked to some brokers now who are trying in the U.S. who are working on like contracts to get it in for next year. But that's how I got some in 2018, and it was shady.
That's amazing. That's an amazing back alley hops deal. International, international implications.
Yes.
Wiring money. That's why we're doing this. I love this.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
You know this guy, Kenneth? He's probably in your Rolodex.
Nope.
I don't know. Sounds like it.
I don't know any Russians.
So we talk about different hops.
Yep.
All these different sort of flavors that you get off different hops. But I think what's amazing about you guys and your story and what you've come to be known for is creativity. It's your slogan, creativity on tap.
Yep.
That seems to come from a lot of confidence and also a lot of sort of knowledge. So how did you build all that knowledge? So when you're brewing beer, you got to know IPAs, you got to know stouts, you got to know browns, you got to know, when you're making liquor, you're making spirits, you sort of focus on one thing. And so it's amazing for beer that there's all these styles that you need to know. So how did you master a lot of those styles, but then also jump off into this, Kenneth's drinking the blueberry cobbler. You've made so many amazing like beers based on cocktails, beers based on pies, beers based on desserts, beers based on a hill that had blackberries growing on it. So how did you get to that place?
Yeah, so I guess for us it's always been, again, you've touched on, I mentioned it earlier, just beer has always been about having fun and experimenting. And I guess for me, it's one of those things, your standard brown ale, right? We make one. I guess we put our own tiny little twist on it. We add vanilla to it. But to me, a brown ale in and of itself has been made 1 trillion times before, right? I like doing all these different things that I want to always try something different and just kind of push the boundaries. And, you might be able to buy 100 brown ales in Nashville, but where can you buy a white chocolate macadamia nut coconut brown ale, right? Well, only at Southern Grist, because we like doing weird shit. Yeah. So I always have enjoyed, just because I love food and I love drinks. I mean, everything. It's just something I've always been passionate and interested in. So for us, to come up with these ideas that we're always kind of playing riffs on in the beer realm. I like pulling inspiration from the culinary world and the beverage world, right? Cocktails, you mentioned, we've done tiki cocktail collaborations together, and we've always, to me, it's, and when I'm coming up with an idea and we say, okay, let's do a brown ale. We'll just stay on that train. We're like, okay, so brown ale, something a little sweeter. I'll just be like, hey, Kyle, have you had any like really cool desserts lately? Or have you done, have you heard about something or seen something on TV? And we literally just pull inspiration from food and all these other places. And that's kind of where a lot of these ideas come from. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just, we try to think about beer as a product. Obviously we're putting out, that is what our product is, but we want it to kind of have crossover into so many other worlds and industries because it's fun. And
that's how you guys live too. You guys go out, you guys are out at restaurants and out at bars drinking cocktails. You guys are into cocktails. So that's been cool for me to see.
Yeah, for sure.
And have you guys. So I do want to talk about this collaboration. So the bar that I'm opening with Andy Muma and Bryce, our boy from Isla Printing, Chopper, which we're getting excited about. We've been working on it for a long time. But something exciting that sort of came about this past spring, summer, we did a collaboration beer together where, bless your heart, you're saying, I want to hear a tiki drink that you love that would be cool to make a beer from. So we're throwing out different ideas. We came to the Jet Pilot Sour, which was amazing, which was super popular. I was working at Kuchny and Keller at the time, and we had it on tap there, and people just loved it. So a Jet Pilot from my end, I'll say, is this classic tiki drink from the 50s where they were sort of taking the zombie template and making it a little bit lighter, a little bit more approachable, a little bit easier to drink. So basically you got your blend of dark rums, you have grapefruit juice, lime juice, cinnamon syrup, falernum, a touch of absinthe. And I think it's really interesting. So take us behind your thought process of taking that cocktail and turning it into a beer, because you did a phenomenal job. And I think people really responded to it. Tell me how that goes with the collaboration.
Yeah, so obviously, we kind of came up with the idea for the Jet Pilot, and obviously that was, the cocktail that you were like really stoked about. And I don't think at that point had a Jet Pilot. So when you told me, I was like, yeah, if Mike likes it, I'm all in. So basically when you kind of broke down, I remember we had a bunch of messages going back and forth, and it was you told me the ingredients at first, and thinking through like, okay, these are ingredients that we can replicate those flavors in beer. Check the box. We're good there. Then it became understanding how much, of each flavor is kind of present. And from there, it's tweaking on my end, how we're adding that product, how we are sourcing it, how long it's going to be in, that sort of thing. So understanding what we are going for, which you helped with perfectly, and then coming up with a game plan on the beer side of things and executing. So, with that, I mean, we use like grapefruit puree, organic lime juice. We used cinnamon sticks. We used some almonds kind of for the falernum aspect.
Yeah.
And they're, it's just kind of pulling out, obviously we can't add falernum, right, to a beer. That's very illegal.
Right.
So then it's kind of sometimes breaking down ingredients and aspects and figuring out, okay, what are complementary flavors, and then being able to utilize those in the beer. So.
And it's, at what point are you adding these ingredients, mind you, like during or I guess post fermentation?
Exactly. Yeah. Post fermentation. So basically,
you're doing a heavy steep.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. The fruit, comes in the grapefruit puree comes in these like big boxes of 5 gallons of aseptic puree. And so once kind of primary fermentations died down, yeast is still in there because obviously we want all the sugars, the natural sugars in the fruit to be consumed. Otherwise, we're going to have the beers just going to be way too sweet, or even worse, if we don't give it time to kind of ferment out in the tank and then we go to package that beer, well, then the yeast is going to eat that sugar, and then we're going to have exploding cans or bottles or whatever have you in consumers' hands, which you obviously can't have. So, so pretty much everything for the most part happens at some point after primary fermentation.
And do you guys, we did one more beer with you guys, the zombie beer.
Yep.
Is that still at the Is that all gone?
We are out.
It's all gone.
Yeah, I know we're out at the west side. The east side may have like half a keg left, but I'm pretty sure.
We'll get in there to the east side if you want to try the last few precious drops of the.
If this is airing, what, Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve. It's probably gone.
We're going there.
It's probably gone.
Afterwards.
86 zombie beer. But there'll be more collaborations down the road, and we're excited.
Already talking on number 3. We've had some messages going back and forth on figuring that out. So, yeah, probably early 2019.
Do you have? Let me ask you this: do you have some Christmas kind of drinking traditions? I know we talked about Nagapalooza. That's a big one.
That's huge.
So that was a great revelation. But do you have any other kind of holiday, Christmas, New Year's, any kind of drinking traditions that you know, I'm going to be drinking some sparkling wine. I'm going to be drinking some eggnog. I'm going to drink some whiskey cream in my coffee. What?
I mean, other than, I guess it's just this time of year, gets a little colder out. That's when I start hitting the bourbons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I actually, it's funny. I love cocktails. Probably my favorite way to consume alcohol at this point. But as far as like straight liquor goes, I tend to shy away from just drinking everything straight until it gets a little cold.
Mm-hmm.
November, December,
that's
just
smart.
like bring it out.
Get that cold nip. Yep.
I've literally been pouring myself a glass of bourbon or whiskey every single night for the past couple weeks.
Nice.
It's beautiful.
It's flash season.
Yeah, and I think as cocktail enthusiasts and professionals, Kenneth and I, we got to appreciate that in somebody, right? You know, just you can drink things straight all you want, but if you want, you know, I call it luxury for the common man.
Yeah.
You reach for a cocktail.
Absolutely. It's a very cheap vacation.
Yeah, right. Are you making Manhattans at home, old fashions? What are you kind of getting into over there?
I leave the cocktail making to the wonderful professionals such as you guys. No, I've tried making cocktails at home and no.
Well, we'll come over.
Well, I definitely think your beers are our cocktails.
I'll stick to making beer cocktails.
Yeah,
there you go.
They translate. All your ideas seem to translate really well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're blessed to have you here in Nashville. So
thank you.
We're stoked to keep working with you and everything. And I do have to mention that CBC was in Nashville this year, which was awesome. And there was a bunch of people in town, and we did a Chopper and Southern Grist event.
Yeah,
that was legendary.
That would be
insane.
The Craft Brewers Convention.
The Craft Brewers Convention.
Conference.
Yeah. Craft Brewers Conference.
Convention.
Nice try.
Confrontation.
Yeah, there were a few confrontations
at that event,
to be had. Yes, there were. There was so at that event, I think we ended up pouring 700 glasses of cocktails.
We
it was
this
just
awesome idea.
Nuts.
To get together because brewers love tiki drinks and cocktails and stuff, and we're like, man, everything for CBC is just beer. Everything's beer, and so we're like, man, let's do an event where we bring beer and cocktails together. So our goal, obviously, you guys were doing the Chopper pop-up tour, and so we were kind of doing beer infused tiki drinks. You were batch making some tiki drinks, and then we were kind of blending in some beers. And I think we initially expected 150, maybe 200 people to show up.
Yeah.
At one point, I swear the line was like 150 people deep.
Yeah.
Like
it was nuts.
just waiting to get a drink while
It was nuts. It was over at Barista Parlor on the east side, and that was definitely a highlight of my year. Was just manning the blender. So I had already batched these huge cocktails that I was just pouring into a blender, adding like maybe some bitters and then ice, and then I was blending them, and that would give me about 8 drinks that then would get topped with beer.
Yeah.
But we did that for 4 hours straight, it seemed like. And it was like...
I don't know.
It was awesome.
I don't know how you did
great.
it. You were like stoic as hell, and I'm freaking out. I'm the guy who's just like running around, panicking. I remember at one point, we had all these beautiful garnishes, and we started getting low, and we're trying to move drinks so fast, and I'm there handing the drinks over, so I'm trying to garnish, and it turned into like an I Love Lucy type thing, and there's just too many drinks, and I started foregoing the garnishes, and then Andy came over. He's like, Jared, gotta keep those garnishes going.
Keep going.
Damn it. I'm like, shit.
Keep those garnishes tight, baby.
Man, I was like, I just remember just being in full blown like meltdown mode.
Yeah, there was so much greenery on the floor.
You're just you're smiling, you're laughing, you're having a great time.
My method was don't look at the line. Once I looked at the line, I was like, oh my God.
Every human line in the eyes.
Yeah.
I was just, it was a bad move.
It was
like
it was funny.
First two. Just stare at the first two.
Yeah.
Cold. Real cold.
And it was funny because everything was free, and it was like it was just a good promo event. It was just fun, but people were like, "Can I get a drink?" We're like, "Hey, it's free. Come on."
Yeah,
Come on, lady.
that was the best part. Is if anybody got too angry, we're like, dude, at the end of the day, it's free.
Here's some beer.
Just have a good time.
Yeah, right.
But,
Give me some push-ups.
That was amazing.
that event was stellar.
That was awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
It's been great to have you.
Yeah.
What are you going to be kind of focusing on in the new year in terms of like what beer are you excited to kind of get into? Not that you have to preview anything for us, but what are you looking forward to?
Wow, that's a good question. I'm a pretty off the cuff brewer, and so it's so funny. Like I'll have a production schedule kind of lined out for a month or 2 months, and I'll just be talking. Like Kyle and I will just be having a conversation. Or one of us will have an idea, and all of a sudden we're just like, oh my God, we have to brew that. And then I just basically go and erase my entire production schedule, and I'm constantly redoing it because we just have all these ideas that pop up. Our Hill series, which is our fruited, kettle soured beer that we're always kind of switching the fruits on. Obviously, we're a big series brewer. We like having these base beers and just doing these series, like kind of like the mixed greens, just all these different riffs. But the Hill series, we're always experimenting with different fruit. On kind of I think it was Kyle's idea. We did a version with vanilla this past year. It was black currants and boysenberries and vanilla beans, and we loved that so much, and the people loved that so much. We're definitely gonna start playing with that a little bit more in the new year. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to kind of see what we can do with all kinds of different fruits and vanilla. Have a really fun coconut Nutella concept coming out.
Yeah.
We do a lot of stuff with coconut.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's one of my favorite things.
The Broconut, Kyle.
The Broconut.
We got to throw a shout out to Kyle Arnold, who does all these designs on the cans.
Oh man,
and he's not. What's amazing about him is he's not sort of confined to one style. There's all these different styles for all these different cans, and he does an amazing job.
Oh, he does a spectacular job. Yeah,
we got to throw a shout out. I'm sorry about your Cavaliers. They're probably the worst team in the league, but they'll be back. We'll see. Yeah, he does a great job.
Oh, he's amazing, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for hanging out on Liquid Gold, episode 1.
Dude, stoked to be here.
Season 1.
Love it.
I need another beer.
Oh, yeah. Dude, let me go get you. Actually, I have a really cool... I brought, like, a really cool beer to try. If you guys...
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We're into cool beer.
I say beer, but it's weird.
Okay.
So,
yeah, well, even better. We're weird, too.
Eddie better.
Glasses out there? Because it's a bottle. And I mean, we can just pull from the bottle. But
I'm fine with that.
Dude, like Dixie cup.
Tell us what you brought here. We're going to close out the show kind of drinking this beautiful looking mead.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
Beautiful.
There you go. So this is considered a Braggot is the technical term for it, which is essentially a hybrid between mead and beer. So this is a collaboration with an amazing meadery down in Florida that we did. So we kind of took their mead side, infused it with our beer side, and came up with this like really, really cool beverage here. So we're gonna share this.
So
awesome.
Is it a blend?
Kind of. So it's not necessarily a blend because we can't. I mean, if we're a beer manufacturer, we can't take a finished like mead product and blend it into our beer. So what it is essentially we started with an Imperial Stout, which is kind of our base Imperial Stout. And as you see as I pour this, I mean, there's not a lot of head on there. We kept the carb extremely low, kind of an homage to its mead origins.
Right.
But yeah, so we started with an Imperial Stout, and we added a ton of local wildflower honey. So that's kind of where a lot of the mead comes into play. And then a riff on what kind of garagiste is.
This is crazy. It looks like a Bordeaux.
Yeah, it's like a black-red color. I mean, it's crazy.
It looks like Liquid Gold, baby.
Holy moly.
But yeah, so Garagiste is known for a series that they call their Reboogs, which is goober spelled backwards because it started as a, they called it goober, but Smuckers didn't
Goober
like
driver.
that. Yeah, Smuckers didn't like that at all because so it's a peanut butter jelly, just like those like striped goober things, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So anyway, so it's called Reboog, which is peanut butter and jelly essentially. So for the jelly aspect for this collaboration we decided to go with blackberries. So
Good choice.
So yeah, so basically it's an Imperial Stout with a ton of honey, and then we added peanut butter and blackberry to this beer. The blackberries were in the form of a concentrate, and the way it drinks is just incredible. I mean, I love this. This is one of my favorite things that has come out of our brewery in a long time. I think it
sounds really
so
big.
unique. I mean, it's really fun. Just there's a lot of acidity to it from the fruit that I think, so this is 15.2% alcohol.
Dang.
By the way. So just FYI. And I mean, just the acid component and the way everything kind of plays together. It's so fun.
It sounds food friendly. It sounds like you'd pair this with like a pork chop or
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely pork.
Yeah.
Definitely pork.
All right, let's go buy some pork chops after this.
Okay.
All right. Cheers, y'all.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you
Man.
for bringing this. This is
is a
exciting. What? Now, tell me one more time. Just back up.
Yep.
What do you call this? What do you call this liquid right here?
The name or the style?
Yeah, just the style.
The style, Braggot.
It's a Braggot. Okay.
Braggot.
Wow. Oh my God, that is
Wow.
nuts.
So it
It reminds me of my grandfather's coffee.
He had some good taste.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's
Yeah,
one
so
of
you
those
get a
things
lot of
that-
coffee. You get the berry. You get the acid. You get,
Yeah.
but this is unlike really anything.
Wow,
it's
that's
not
crazy.
like beer.
That
So
like late tart thing.
it is- yeah,
It's
right,
incredible.
right.
Wow.
Wow.
So it is technically a beer because most of the fermentables, even though we put a ton of honey in it, I mean, most of the fermentables came from barley. So it is considered a beer, but it doesn't drink like beer at all. I mean, it drinks much closer to mead, some wines even, but
Wow.
For sure.
it's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this
Thank
is
you for sharing
incredible.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Great.
it's something that's
I'm honored.
that's just unique, and so
Yeah, and you guys will have this at the brewery for a little while? Or?
we did a release of this. A lot of our bottled stuff, it's pretty small batch, and so we will do a release day. We usually sell out either day of or day after
Yep.
we do releases. So unfortunately, this one is no longer available. We have a few small kegs held back in the cellar for special events, so
Cool.
you may see this hit the taps on any random day at some point in the future, but bottles unfortunately are no longer available.
Well, and
Sold
that's
out.
just part of the deal with you guys, and something to remember for everybody that's a fan of craft beer here in Nashville and surrounding is to follow these guys. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on Twitter, and get those special release sort of updates as they come, because you do want to taste when these guys go. Obviously, when they go all out on something, it's pretty amazing, and the response is always amazing. You always get the lines down the block. So yeah, keep up with Southern Grist. You guys are on Instagram,
Thank you.
Twitter, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yep.
Dude, this is great.
It's
Thank you.
crazy.
We're gonna be
feel like-
sipping on this. Yeah,
Drinking this in like Argentina or something. Like,
yeah. Kenneth's in Argentina right now.
like
Where are you,
near
man?
the beach, but on the top of a mountain
Whoa. Yeah,
or a volcano.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. It's like wine meets coffee meets mead meets chocolate meets
Sandwich.
sandwich. Yeah, it's a pork sandwich. That really just solidifies the fact that these guys, other people, there's so many people doing amazing things here in Nashville in beverage form. So thank you so much for bringing that.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
We've got a few things to get to here before we wrap up our episode 1 here of Liquid Gold. Myself and Kenneth Dedmon here today. One thing I'm going to go over real quick since we're here on the Christmas episode, something that has been sort of a tradition in my family, going back to when we used to travel up to Indiana for Christmas. It really has stayed kind of a thing around my house, is whiskey cream. Whiskey cream on Christmas Eve after Christmas Eve dinner, or whiskey cream in the morning with a little bit of coffee. And I wanted to go through a really simple kind of recipe that you can use, and you can kind of adapt this how you want. Same with the eggnog. I don't want to be super specific and esoteric with any of these recipes. I want people to try them out and don't get stressed about them. Just give it a shot. So for whiskey cream,
It's easy.
it would be nice if you had a blender. A blender would be really helpful in this situation. So that's kind of what you need. You're going to need some heavy cream. You're going to need some ground coffee. You're going to need some bourbon or rye. Now, you can definitely use a little bit of rum in here. You need some chocolate syrup, which you can either go all out and make your own chocolate syrup. You can look up different recipes for that.
Mike, go ahead and say it. They could use vodka if they have like an aunt that's coming over. That
Yeah, well,
you
I
could
had a
just
drink
say
recently.
that
That's interesting you
you
bring
put
that up.
vodka
I
in
was
there,
at the
I guess.
Lights at Cheekwood, and they had a peppermint vodka hot chocolate drink, and it was really good. And there I was drinking peppermint vodka, which I didn't really think I'd be. I didn't think I'd be there, but I was
Gotcha.
there. You got me. So we got the chocolate syrup, a little bit of vanilla extract, a little bit of salt, and then a can of sweetened condensed milk. All this is going to go in the blender. So 1 cup of heavy cream, 2 teaspoons of ground coffee, and go get good coffee here if you can. All right, use some good coffee in there. You can do a kind of mild to medium coarse ground if you sort of want to taste more of that. If you want to chew those grounds a little bit as you drink it, that can be nice, but that's not for everybody. But 2 teaspoons of ground coffee, all right? 2 tablespoons of the chocolate syrup, 1 teaspoon of the vanilla extract. You can get a nice like bourbon aged vanilla extract. That's always nice. Or just regular vanilla extract. A pinch of salt, and then 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. So a 14-ounce can. The booze that you're going to set aside, 1 cup to 1.5 cup. It kind of depends, right? What's your proof on your whiskey? Who are the relatives that are coming over? Are you just going to be drinking this? We're not going to be super specific on this. A cup to a cup and a half. I might like a cup and a half. I'm gonna add a little bourbon and a little rum. All right. So we're going to add all the ingredients except the booze to our blender. We're going to blend that on a low setting. And we can kind of... Well, you just kind of want to... first of all, you don't want the mixture to shoot up in the air because you're leaving a little hole in the top. You know how you can pop off the top of your blender to kind of leave that little hole there? So we're going to leave that little hole so that we can slowly, once we've started that blender on a low setting, we're going to leave that hole. Then we're going to add the whiskey rum mixture, or just whiskey. I like 1.25 cup of whiskey to a 1/4 cup of rum, an aged rum, if you got it. All right. Now, you got the blender going on a low setting. We're going to add this whiskey rum mixture slowly. All right. You want to add it really slowly as it's blending. And then you kind of increase the speed as you go. Once you've kind of poured out all the booze, you can kind of increase that speed, let that blend, and boom, you have yourself a beautiful, fresh, super tasty whiskey cream. Super easy. Does that make sense? Are you going to do that on Christmas morning or what?
Yeah. I'm going to do it with Fernet.
Ooh, man, I love that.
Yeah. You got to chill it, though. Chill it.
You got to chill the Fernet. We love our chilled Fernet. That's my whiskey cream. So that kind of closes out our recipes for this time. We're going to get into sort of random recipes on the show as we go. But right now I'm going to turn it over to Kenneth Dedmon for our feature, Booze News. What do you got for us today, Kenneth? What's going on out there in the world? It's almost Christmas. People are drinking. People are partying. Holiday parties. I saw Nancy Pelosi was dancing in a bar, celebrating maybe just sort of holidays in D.C.
Yeah.
But it's a time for celebration. What do you got?
It's actually a record year for stolen nativity scenes in D.C.
Wow.
Which is typically alcohol-fueled. All right, Mike. I got a couple of bangers here I thought you'd find interesting. We'll start with the big one. Fake whiskey might be a much bigger problem than you think.
Man, what is this, like 150 years ago?
This is an ongoing problem, I think.
Wow.
In the world of booze.
Okay.
Since the invention of LLCs, I suppose.
Preach.
Well, this was from Forbes magazine yesterday. Report found that more than a third of rare collectible Scotch whiskeys in private collections and for sale on the secondary market may be fake. A lot of these whiskeys are sold at high-end retails, also restaurants, resorts, primarily in Europe, also in private auctions. A company called Rare Whiskey 101, Scotland-based whiskey valuation service, working with the University of Glasgow College of Science and Engineering, found a way to determine the distillation date of whiskeys post-1950s to within 3 years of distillation date using radiocarbon dating. They actually use Cold War measures of atmospheric radiation in the whiskeys, detectable within 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
Out of 55 whiskeys, they tested 21. That's almost 40% were fakes.
Dang.
Yeah. Or
so what do we tell our
others had the
thirsty
wrong
listeners? You just gotta if you're going into an auction, be careful.
Well, yeah, I assume that they're fake until proven genuine.
Wow.
You and I have dabbled in not whiskeys that rare because I could really give a fuck about like old Ardbeg. Honestly,
sure.
I'll drink a current Ardbeg.
Yep.
If we can find one of those under $100, and I'll enjoy it just fine. But
yep.
You've sourced a lot of older stuff. You got that American a few years back.
That was crazy. 100 years old, 110 years old. I had a bottle.
But like all of this, I mean, this is really not a really changing number in as far as fake whiskey. You know, President Taft spent 2 years, probably 2 years of his life, drinking whiskeys and trying to figure out a way to prevent the labeling of fake whiskeys, bourbons, in the United States to no avail. It was during the whole like Upton Sinclair creation of the USDA sort of thing. And who cares about a really old Scotch whiskey, dude?
I don't really.
These are bottles that like, I mean, they go for auction at like $300,000, man.
Yeah.
And no one's. I mean, I understand, you know, in relation to art and something being a piece of art and sitting there on your shelf, never getting drinking, past generation to generation.
Yeah.
Leaves a whole world of like why not fake one, you know?
So the moral is, drink some whiskey that's sitting on the shelf, maybe.
You know what's crazy
all right.
is like
You'd be all right.
people that fake that stuff, they're uncatchable. Because I know how to kind of to do it.
Oh, you gonna do some fake whiskey?
Fake whiskey art? You could do a show. Like a.
He's like, this is a terrible idea, but I could do it.
Dude, I was thinking about it on the way over here. I was like, how do you sell like fake whiskey? to
Liquid
someone?
Gold, episode 2, how to fake whiskey.
Yeah. Oh man. You're going to drop us
do
down a
your own
rabbit
blend.
hole.
You do your own blend, but yeah, you create your own label. You do like an estate sale with a bunch of other fake stuff. I'm not talking just fake whiskey, fake art, fake furniture. Sell it, and now it's in someone else's hands.
Well, and that's
And
why
then that person, you know, like, they don't have any family. That's why they spent all their money on this one old bottle of whiskey.
yeah.
They're walking down the street, they get hit by a bird scooter. So then there's that fake whiskey is in their estate sale, and it happens again and again and again, and then it
That's a hell
ends
of a
up at
story
auction.
you're conjuring up here. I thought this was news. You go from nonfiction to fiction really
This is
fast.
future news.
Future news with Kenneth Dedmon.
All right, moving on.
Well, that's why the only thing to close on this is if you get into buying antique whiskey and you're getting into like buying old bottles, get up on your tax stamps, get up on your seals, and that's probably where you want to be. You want to be buying things that are sealed. You want to be getting up to speed on tax stamps of different regions and states and all that. And that's kind of where you want to get if you're going to get into that.
1/3 to 1/4
if you have the money and the time.
of these are fake, then it's more of a buyer beware thing.
Yep.
And who's buying all this expensive shit anyway? They're doing it.
Sting,
it's the
probably?
ultimate. Yeah, it's the ultimate impulse buy by.
Sorry, Mom. Sting's probably buying some. What else you got for booze?
Moving on. Anheuser-Busch and InBev has joined Canadian pot pot firm Tilray Incorporated in a research partnership into non-alcoholic weed-infused beverages. Each company is pledged up to $50 million in the partnership, which is limited to Canada. Canada just legalized recreational marijuana, which is the largest country and economic market too. They won't be doing any edibles in Canada for about another year. So this is all a research-based
They're smart to be scared of the edibles.
partnership to presumably focus on actually like non-alcoholic cannabis and CBD infused beverages, presumably in London, Ontario, at the LeBlat Brewery.
Dang.
Yeah, it's the third partnership, major partnership, because I'm sure the smaller breweries are already on that or have been on it for a long time anyway. Molson, Coors, and Constellation Brands were the two prior companies to partner with Canadian marijuana
That's amazing because I feel like this.
corporations.
That's amazing because I feel like this was the year, in terms of drinking, and in terms that's what we're talking about on this podcast: beverages, drinking, etc. This to me was the year where CBD, marijuana, the plant as a whole began to really be used a lot in beverages. It
Yeah.
was more common. I'd say 2017, it was like, yeah, some people were like, oh, I'm messing around with this. Are you? And it's like, well, maybe I should be. I don't know. But now this year, it's become way more common, and people are doing it all over town. That's amazing. What do you think about that, Jared? Do you
Yeah,
speak
so
to that?
as far as beer,
Getting into that?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
they were
mixed greens.
They
It gives
were.
a new.
So funny thing about that is, in 2018, terpene beers became this huge, popular thing to do. So there were zero, no THC, no CBD, no psychological, side effects whatsoever.
Just like the
to
flavor.
use, is literally
Similar as the
just-
aroma, the
exactly,
flavor. Right.
exactly.
Okay.
So that became a thing to put that into beer earlier this year, and it really took off down in Florida, of all places. And so we actually,
Florida, God bless them.
right? We actually did a collaboration with a brewery down there, Twisted Trunk, in North Palm Beach. They're amazing. They came up here, and yeah, we did a terpene beer and released it on 420 and everything. And again, no THC, no CBD, literally just the terpenes that were extracted from the plant. And very shortly after we released our collaboration, thank goodness on the timing there, the feds put a big stop to brewers using terpenes. Even though we had lab results, I mean, every brewery that's getting these, they're getting from legit labs. I mean,
Yeah, I don't imagine you can just be like, oh, trust us. It doesn't have anything.
right, exactly. We are using stuff that is lab proven to have no, side effects whatsoever. It's just flavor. Government wasn't having it. So that's not a thing anymore in the beer industry. We'll put it that way.
Well, do you expect that to pick back up? I mean, realistically.
The TTB made it very, very clear to brewers that if terpenes are a thing that can be added to beer at any point in the future, it's going to be a while. They said there is significant testing that needs to happen before anybody can do it again. So
Wow.
I mean, the shit was crazy. I mean, the flavor was, when you popped a can, our beer was called Contact Hive because it had honey in it.
Dang, that's great.
That's pretty good.
I mean, you pop that can and that aroma was.
Well, I mean, that's super
undeniable.
cool. So
It
you're
was
thinking
crazy.
about, it's like thyme, right? Thyme might be an herb that maybe you wouldn't use in a beer, but thyme's an herb you can use in cooking or making drinks or whatever, where you throw a bunch of thyme in there. Maybe you're cooking a steak, you throw a bunch of thyme on top. That's an herb that's powerful. It's aromatic. You know it instantly.
Yeah.
And so that has value.
For
and
sure.
so,
For sure.
especially the affinity that it would have with hops. So it's sort of a no-brainer.
Exactly.
And so
they're cousins, Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so. But
That's amazing.
so that was a thing this year in the beer industry, but no longer a thing. So
wow.
TBD on the next step in that adventure.
We gotta be like
how
Canada.
about like hypothetical? You wanted to maybe make your own homebrew thing and actually end up with some sort of THC in your hypothetical homebrew. Like my neighbor does this sort of thing. I think
Hypothetically, he does.
He was asking me.
Sounds
'cause
like
he
a
knew that I
Cleveland
was
Park
gonna
brewery.
talk to a local brewer today that had more knowledge than him.
Uh-huh.
Hypothetically, if you are going to infuse THC into a beer, what are you gonna do?
Are you
Are you trying to get him arrested? Are you trying to get him arrested?
I just want to we're basically talking to a scientist here, Mike.
Scientist.
Yeah.
I'm more of a janitor than a scientist.
Well,
so
Elmer T. Lee was a janitor when he took over.
So was Matt
at
Damon
the
in
Stag-
Good Will Hunting. He's a math genius.
You like apples?
Yeah, to answer your question, I have no idea. That, to be honest, is something that I am not well versed at all in THC or using that in beer. I have no idea.
I believe it's alcohol soluble.
Yeah, and I have no idea. How,
Don't blow up your house, Kenneth.
Yeah,
It's inevitable. It's more like, how do you want me to do it?
It's a big house. It's a big southern mansion in Cleveland Park. I love it. What else we got? You got anything else for booze news?
Yeah. Why we still have a beer guy here? Kellogg's. This is from last week. Kellogg's. Yeah, did you hear about this?
the UK story.
They are the UK story.
Yeah.
They are To use rejected cornflakes to make beer in a bid to cut down on food waste or get a little PR.
Yeah.
Seven Brothers Brewery, Manchester. They're going to produce the throwaway IPA using flakes that are either too big, too small, or overcooked, comprising 30% of the grain content. 10% of profits going to a distribution charity called Fair Share.
Wow.
Kellogg's in the UK claims that it has lowered their food waste 13% in the last year.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We love any
It's a big company.
positive food waste stories here at Liquid Gold. We love that.
Big company with a positive story.
That's great. And that closes out
I
the
call
booze
bullshit.
news. You calling bullshit on that?
I call bullshit.
All right. You're good at that. Because you're, career bartender. So you can kind of spot that shit.
Assholes.
So that wraps up booze news for this week.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you so much.
I can keep going if you want.
No, that was great. Thank you for doing booze news. We're looking forward to that as a feature every week here on Liquid Gold. Also, we want to throw a shout out to our man in Savannah, Kevin King, who will be a part of the show in the future. We'll be calling him up, talking to him. So that'll be fun. Andy Mooma will be joining us here periodically, and we'll have guests from all over the city and all over the region talking beverage, talking wine, talking cocktails, talking booze, talking beer. It was so great to have you today, Jared.
Thank you.
From Southern Grist Brewing, creativity on tap, doing amazing things, just doing a wide variety of things. It's amazing. We appreciate.
I'm honored.
We like to have fun.
We appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me.
For our next, this will air Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. We are hoping to get a New Year's Eve episode up and running. We're going to talk about sparkling wine and bubbles, just all bubbles all the time. And so we look forward to that. Help us promote. Please share this episode. Share it with somebody. Send it along to somebody. Send the link. We are at liquidgold_pod. liquidgold_pod on Instagram. So we just kind of got that rolling. We'll be posting some things on there. We want to thank We Own This Town. So this show is brought to you by We Own This Town. Check them out on Instagram and Twitter.
Thank you so much, Michael.
They've got a lot of cool things going on. Music, culture, sports, all kinds of cool things going on with We Own This Town. And we're happy to be with those guys. Kenneth, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Mike. Love you.
Love you. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you too, Jared.
Love you, Jared.
Love you guys.
All right, peace out. Yeah. We can cuss, right? We can cuss. Okay, yeah.